Vince Lombardi once said, "To achieve success, whatever the job we have, we must pay a price for success. It's like anything worthwhile. It has a price. You have to pay the price to win, and you have to pay the price to get to the point where success is possible. Most important, you must pay the price to stay there." And that's the way it is right now at New Hampton High School. Quality athletes who are willing to pay the price for success. They are better than the famous Energizer Bunny. They just keep going and going and going. And this year was no exception, as the Chickasaws were a team that paid the price and took the prize, a District 3A championship, and qualified for the State 3A championships. These are your football highlights, brought to you by Last Magic Moments, edited by Jerry Staten.
First game of the year, September 3rd, Friday night, we went over to Clear Lake, played the Clear Lake Lions. Clear Lake had a young football team. We were relatively young ourselves. We came out early and scored twice in the first quarter. Built a 14-0 lead, scored again in the second quarter to take a 20-0 lead at halftime. Then we tacked on one more touchdown in the third quarter and one more in the fourth quarter to win convincingly 33-0. Our offense was pretty equal on the night. We passed for almost 200 yards and ran for almost 200 yards. Leading rusher on the night was Matt Pickar. He had 10 carries for 125 yards. And our leading passer was Chad Haruska, who was 8 of 12 for 197 yards. Very equal, very happy with that offensive performance on that night. Defensively, the entire team played very well. In the first half, we limited them to 40 yards rushing. In the second half, they had 44 yards rushing for a total of 88 yards rushing on the night. Their passing was a -7 yards on the night. They were 1 for 8 for -7 yards. So defensively, we really took it to the Clear Lake Lions, and in general, we played a very good opening ball game. Into the 1993 football season, Ray Riesland had taken a new head job at Cornell College, or a new football coaching job. He was actually the assistant coach there. And Scott Frericks became the new head coach here in New Hampton after being both a sophomore and a varsity assistant for the previous 7 years. And our head sophomore coach, Bill Boyd, moved up to be our defensive coordinator, and Jeff Josephson remained on as our special teams coach at the varsity level. In addition to that, we graduated a lot of seniors who had played key roles, a lot of them two-way starters on last year's quarterfinals football team. And we just weren't sure what this season would hold. We had returning 3 all-district players, Brad Hart at a defensive back, Brian Hine as a receiver, and Mitch Lowers as a linebacker to build around. And in the off-season, we had a number of other seniors who really worked hard. They got in the weight room, they were consistent, they stayed with it, and they really worked to make themselves athletes. That's probably one of the main characteristics of this senior class, is that they really worked hard. In junior high, they hadn't had a lot of success. At the sophomore level, they started to win a few football games, and each year they've progressed to where they've really made themselves into the athletes that they are. Our junior class has some talented individuals. It's just a question of how soon they would be able to play at the varsity level. And early on in the season, we found that they were going to step right in, and they did just a super job. I guess the best way to describe the football team was that the whole was better than the sum of its parts. When you put the 2 grades together, as sophomores, one grade was 5-3-1, and the other one was 5-3. Respectable teams, but neither one really stood out by themselves. And then when we put the 2 classes together, they really mixed well. They appreciated each other, and they blended together well, and they kind of emphasized each other's strengths, and they were better together than maybe they would have been separately. Early in the season, we weren't sure where we would finish. We have a very tough district. We thought maybe 3rd or 4th, and with a little luck, we could finish 2nd and make the playoffs. But we had returning state champions in Waverly Shell Rock, and just a very talented club in Waterloo, Columbus. And then along with them, there was Decorah and Oline, who had very fine football clubs. So, we weren't sure what to expect with the new coaching staff, and after losing a lot of individuals off a very good football team the year before. And what we found out was that, this group was ready to take on the challenge and continue the tradition that we've begun here at New Hampton. We've been in the playoffs now 4 out of the last 5 years, and this group just really probably exceeded all expectations. Expectations at the beginning of the year were not real high, and as the season grew, so did the expectations, to where at the end of the year, people thought that they were just as good as any group that we had here in the past. Coaching staff was very proud of them. We just couldn't have expected anything to turn out better. A group that we'll always remember for their work ethic and for the fun they had playing the game. Their enthusiasm was at a new level for us here in New Hampton. They really enjoy the game. They seem to have as much fun as any team we have ever had, and we'll miss those seniors. They did a lot for our program, and we will look forward to having our juniors back and continuing the success we've had. Third game of the year was September 17th versus the Decorah Vikings, one of our rivals within the Northeast Iowa Conference. We enjoy playing against the Decorah Vikings. We know that they have a lot of tradition, and it's always a good measuring stick for us. It was also our first real test of the year. We knew Decorah and ourselves would be very evenly matched. We both had high expectations, but we weren't sure exactly how good we would be within the district this year. And this would be one of our deciding games, I guess, for that. The game started off slowly. Neither team scored in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, we jumped out ahead and scored 2 touchdowns, taking a 14-0 lead at half. Then in the third quarter, we scored again. We scored on a halfback pass, kind of an exciting play from Brad Hart to David Nielsen, which put us ahead 21-0 going into the fourth quarter. And up until this time, we had pretty much dominated the ball game. We had rushed for about 102 yards at this time and passed for about 102 yards, while Decorah had rushed for 60 yards going into the fourth quarter. Now in the fourth quarter, things turned around a little bit. We had a few missed tackles, and Decorah was able to break a long run on a draw play. And then they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. After their second touchdown, Joel Rochford busted through the line on their extra point attempt and blocked their extra point, and that really seemed to give us a little motivation back, which helped us there at the end of the game, I think, hold off the Decorah rally. It was a pretty evenly matched ball game in a lot of ways, a very much a defensive battle, a defensive struggle. Both teams tackle well, both teams pursued the ball well, and we felt like we were happy with the outcome. We have not had a lot of success against Decorah in the past, and we thought that this was a very exciting and very much needed win for our young ball club. It made us 2-0 in District 3, Class 3A. September 24th, we played our fourth game of the year. It was our third district game against the Charles City Comets. It was a 34-13 victory. It was a sound victory. They did score the last touchdown of the game, making it seem a little bit closer than it was. But overall, we played a very good ball game. We rushed for 260 yards throughout the ball game. Once again, Matt Pickar was our leading rusher, carried the ball 21 times for 158 yards. And we passed for 140 yards, 9 of 15 passing. Chad Haruska threw for 3 touchdowns in the game. Defensively, we gave up only 52 yards on the ground, but through the air we did allow them to complete passes, 11 of 22 passes for 161 yards. We didn't play quite as crisp as we had the previous week against Decorah. We may have had a little bit of a letdown. Nevertheless, we were happy with the win, 4-0 after 4 games, and we were 3-0 in the district.
You're
first game of the year was October 1st versus the Owine Huskies at home. It also was our homecoming game. Owine had a very fine football team, and any doubts or anybody who thought otherwise had those doubts erased in the opening week when they upset the then number 1 ranked West Delaware high school football team. They came in having a very fine season, and so were we, and it was built up to be a very fine high school football game, which it was. Owine came out and scored first with the help of some pinpoint passing from their 4th-year varsity quarterback Todd Rima. They marched down the field and took an opening quarter 7-0 lead. From that point on, though, the New Hampton Chickasaws responded very positively, and the game quickly turned around. In the second quarter, we scored a touchdown and also scored a field goal by our place kicker Benji Hegel to take a 10-7 lead at half. And then in the second half, we scored another touchdown in the third quarter and followed that up with 13 points in the fourth quarter. Owine scored one additional touchdown in the fourth quarter, that on a 72-yard pass play from Rima to their fullback. It was a screen play on which there were a number of missed tackles. After the opening drive by the Huskies, most of the game was dominated by the Chickasaws. We rushed for 300 yards on 52 carries. Once again, Matt Pickar had 176 yards on 34 carries, a real workhorse on the night. Chad Haruska carried the ball 12 times for 93 yards. We're quickly becoming a ball control offensive team, and that's because one area of strength for us is quickly becoming our offensive line. Our tight ends have been Kyle Knutson and Lee Hine at one end and Brian Hine at the other end. Center Brandon Deary, tackles Joel Rochford and Justin Humple, and guards Mitch Lowers and Steve Patry. And then we have been filling in at both a tackle position and a guard position with Craig Hegel. Those guys up front have really been doing a nice job all year. They've done a super job. They've molded together real well as a unit, and probably their strongest point at this time of the year is their run blocking, and it's really allowed us to become a ball control offense and keep the ball away from the opponent's offense. At this time, we're 5-0 after the victory over Owine, the homecoming victory over Owine, and 4-0 in District 3.
But you won't get too far, 'cause you gotta play someone. You're all in confusion, but on guard this time. Against your final solution.
Our sixth game of the year was October 8th. It was Parents' Night at home versus the Waverly Shell Rock Go-Hawks. The weather was terrible. It was cold and rainy. We were all drenched. The regulation ended 0-0. It was a defensive struggle. We played most of the game in our own half of the field. Our defense really rose to the occasion and did a super job just to keep the Waverly Shell Rock Go-Hawks out of the end zone and keep them from scoring. As the game went on, the momentum started to swing in our favor. Towards the end of the game, we did break one long run. We were tackled on about the 15-yard line, and then we failed to get it into the end zone as well. So the game was very even. We went into overtime. We had the ball first, and we kicked a field goal. Benji Hegel kicked a 35-yard field goal. On their possession, Waverly also kicked a field goal on fourth down. So we went to a second overtime. And in the second overtime, Waverly had the ball first. They fumbled on second down, and we recovered. And then on our first play of the second overtime, Matt Pickar scored on a 10-yard run, giving us a 9-3 victory. It was quite a game. We had quite a bit of coverage by the Des Moines Register and other newspapers. Waverly Shell Rock was rated number 1 at the time, and this victory was without a doubt the highlight of our season. versus the Crestwood Cadets. We really dominated this game from beginning to end. We passed only 6 times during the game. We were 4 for 6 for 94 yards, and we rushed for 260 yards on the night. We held them to 18 yards passing for the entire game, and going into the fourth quarter, they had only 37 yards rushing. In the fourth quarter, they did rush for about 110 yards against our reserves. We jumped out in front early, scoring 14 in the first quarter, 14 in the second quarter, to take a 28-0 lead. And we scored our final points in the third quarter. And at the end of the third quarter, we were ahead 35-0. Cresco scored 8 points in the fourth quarter, making the final score 35-8. Cresco had struggled most of the year, but they had broken a long losing streak, and they had 2 victories for the year. This was our 7th win in a row. It made us 6. We were playing for an undefeated season, which was something that, was kind of unexpected, but we were more than happy to be in that situation. And we were playing against a team that was out of the playoffs and was very disappointed to be out of the playoffs. They felt like they had one of the best teams in our district. And personnel-wise, we have to agree with them. They had some super players, and in this ball game, we made some mistakes that we hadn't made all year. We turned the ball over in critical situations. We gave them very good field position, and we also missed assignments defensively. We had kids who had trouble getting to where they were supposed to be, and kids who had trouble recognizing their keys. Needless to say, it was a long night for us. We ended up losing this game 14-36. Nevertheless, we were happy to be district champions. We were 6-1 in the district, 7-1 overall, and we were headed for the playoffs. ended a little bit earlier than we had hoped. On November 3rd, we played the Maquoketa Cardinals in the first round of the playoffs in the Unidome. The injury bug picked a bad time to hit us. Towards the end of the season and here in the first round of the playoffs, we had a number of players go down with injuries. We had our leading tackler on defense, Mitch Lowers, had a pinched nerve in his neck, and he was restricted to playing one way in the playoff game, and even then missed some plays on defense. We had a couple of offensive linemen with sprained ankles, one who continued to play and one who could not, and we had another team captain, Brad Hart, who twisted a knee in the playoff game and was unable to finish the game. Nevertheless, our kids played with a lot of pride, and we really thought they gave a great effort. We made a few mistakes early on assignments and turnovers. We came back and really fought hard the entire game, and that's a characteristic of our New Hampton football teams. We really feel like they always give a great effort regardless of the score. We fell a little bit short tonight, 20-28. Nevertheless, it was a great season. Very happy to have gone 7-2. A super group of kids.
Just another night, and I'm all alone. And I wonder where you are, who you're holding. And I'm wasting time by telephone. Gets harder when there's no way of knowing. I thought we'd be together someday. There was nothing that could keep me away. But it's Yeah, I'm sitting here like nothing's wrong. I'm still looking for someone